Hi everyone, and welcome to another tutorial. So today I'm going to be showing you how to make the Lithograph Bracelet, and this was designed by me. I posted it on Instagram I think 3 days ago, and I asked if it was original and if anyone would want a tutorial, and I got a lot of great feedback on it, so I think I'm going to do a tutorial for it today, which is probably why I'm filming this. But anyway, this is what the signature side looks like. This is the side that you loop, but if you turn it around to the other side, this is what the back side will look like. So just kind of a comparison of both sides. They're a little bit different, especially on these border parts. But anyway, I will have my Instagram name in the description box below. I'm not going to bring it up here, just because it's me, not anyone else. So anyway, today what you're going to need is at least 7 bar pins. If you are going to make a full wrap like this one here, you are going to want 14. Arrange your loom 2 long. I only have 1 long here. And you will want to have your loom arranged like this and with your arrows pointing away from you. You're also going to want your hook. I'm going to just use my rainbow loom hook today, and a C-clip to secure your bracelet up at the top. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Obviously you are going to need some bands too. But first we're going to be laying the border, which I used the pink solar for. It's kind of turning purplish and pinkish here. But for that today I'm going to be using white. So you're going to start on the center peg here, and go out to the left and out to the right, and then down to the right, and then up to the right, and then down to the left, and then up. So just trace that border out. And now what we're going to be doing is actually going onto this peg here, the second pin, and you're going to do a single chain all the way down the loom. Well, not all the way down, until you reach the second to last peg. So starting on your second pin, again doing just a single chain until you reach the second to last peg. So I'm here at the second to last peg, and what you're going to go ahead and do is, I did forget one thing. You are just going to go all the way up to the top here. I was thinking about the full wrap. If you're doing the full wrap, you would probably want to go to the second to last peg on your second loom. But if you are just doing it on one loom, like I am today, go all the way up to this last pin. Again, sorry about that. And you're going to do the same thing on the other side. Again, well, not again, but make sure that you place the border here first, and then you start placing this single chain. So you're just going to do the same thing on the 6th pin. Whoops. Just doing a single chain all the way down. Okay, so once you have done your single chains all the way down here on the second pin, you're going to come back to the beginning, and we're now going to do a single chain all the way down to the second to last peg. This is the second to last peg on your outside, so your first and your 7th pegs. So just like we did with the other ones, we're going to be doing a single chain here. You're going to go up to the second to last peg here, if you are doing one loom. And you're going to want to have this just like a little bit ahead of this band here. You're going to go up into the center, down into the center, and across one, just like so. Now you're going to bring this back to the beginning, and you're going to do the same thing on the other side. So again, just taking that border band and making a border. Make sure you're pushing your bands down as well. Pegs are going to get kind of crowded, especially when you start looping. Okay, so at the second to last peg here, you're going to go up into the center, down into the center, and then across. So once you have something like this, you're going to come back to the beginning of the loom, and there's a very loud truck going by, so I don't know if you can hear that, but anyway, next thing you're going to be doing is placing these white bands that are in this bracelet on the sides, and I am going to be using teal opaque for that. So starting on this first pin on the first peg, you're just going to go and stretch that up to the second pin on the second peg, and then just kind of create a zigzag all the way down your loom. So, fairly simple. You're just making triangles or zigzags or however you like to think of them. You're going to end up here. We're not going to overlap the border, so just end your, zigzag up here and then come back to the beginning, do the same thing on the other side. It's just going to be kind of mirrored because the zigzag is going to start on the 7th pin rather than like this inside pin here, but yeah. Okay, so once you have finished that, you should have your zigzags looking like this, and you're going to come back to the beginning. And next thing you're going to be doing is placing the diamond kind of shape in the middle, which I use the moon solar bands for, which are kind of turning purplish. But for that I am also using teal, so I'm going to take my teal again. And you're going to start out here on this peg. It's the third pin. You're going to go up into the center, and then up into the center from the right, or from the 5th peg here. Then from this center or 4th peg, you're going to go back out to the left and to the right, just kind of creating a large X, and then you'll go back in, and that will create your diamond, and then you go back out, and that will create an X. So you're just going to continue this pattern all the way down till you reach the end of your loom. It shouldn't take too long. Make sure that you are doing the entire diamond shape before you start the top part of your X. Oops. You're going to end up in the top center looking something like this. It should end in a diamond or in an X. It just depends on how many pegs you go up, especially if you are doing a 2-loom one, but it doesn't really matter. Sorry. It doesn't really matter that if it ends in a diamond or an X, and you're just going to come back to the beginning. And next thing we're going to do is place the fuchsia bands that are on the sides here. For that I am using the black opaque. And you're going to start here on the 3rd peg, or the 3rd pin, sorry. And you're going to go out to the 2nd pin, starting on the 5th pin, going out to the 6th pin. And you're just going to do that all the way down. Okay, so once you get to the top, it should look something like this. We're not going to overlap the border here. Once you have finished doing that, we're going to go ahead and come back to the beginning of the loom. Next thing that we're going to be doing is placing the passion pink single chains that I did here. They're also the carnival pink bands, so the same thing. And for that I'm going to be using gray. So starting on the third peg here, third pin, I keep messing those up, you're going to just create a single chain going straight down the loom. So something very simple, and then you're going to do the same thing on the fifth peg, going all the way down the loom. Once you get to the end, you're just going to end right here on the border, and then come back to the beginning again. We're going to be placing 2 more layers of bands. So the next layer is kind of hard to see. It is these solar pink bands that are underneath of the passion pink, and they kind of go into the center as well. So I'm going to be using white for that again. I'm using white again. And all you're going to be doing is placing bands across the center. So I'm going to start on the second peg on the third pin and go into the center, and then over to the right, again into the center, over to the right. You're not going to do it on the first ones or the last ones, you're just going to do it on every peg in between. So you're just placing horizontal bands, it doesn't matter which one you place first. But you're going to do that all the way down, and then once you get to the end, we are going to have one last layer to place, and we'll start looping. Okay, so once you have reached this part of your loom, you're going to stop here on the second to last peg because we don't want to overlap the border. Come back to the beginning, and our last layer that we have to place is the fuchsia in the center. It's kind of hard to see, but it is there, and it is a single chain. And I am using black again. So starting on that center peg, you're going to just go straight down the center. Very simple single chain. Once you have done that, you're going to go ahead and put all of your bands off to the side and turn your loom around so that the ears are pointing towards you now. And we have 1 cap band to place, which I'm using my border color for, and that is just going to go on the center peg. You can also double the cap band if you like. I'm just going to use a single cap for now. But you're going to start looping. You're going to grab your hook, and first thing that you're going to do is push back that cap band and grab the black single chain band and just pull that onto itself and loop the single chain all the way down until you reach the end of the loom. Okay, so once you have reached the end, go ahead and come back. And we're now going to be looping the white bands out from the center, so going underneath of the kind of cap band that that black single chain placed, or the black single chain made. You're just going to loop that white band out to itself, and out to itself, again out to itself on both sides. Some of them are going to be very easy to grab because they're in the center of the diamond. Some of them are not going to be as easy to grab because they're on the points of intersection with the diamond, so just be aware of that. Only grab the white band and do this all the way down. Okay, so go ahead and come back to the beginning, and we're now going to be looping the single chain. So what we want to do first is, I kind of messed up here. But what you're going to do is go ahead and take 2 more cap bands. Sorry, I did forget about this. I'm going to go ahead and just cap off these single chain ones. Okay. And now we're going to go ahead and loop the single chain. So go underneath of the cap band that you just placed and loop that forward. Just loop your single chain forward all the way down. Okay, once you get to the top, go ahead and come back and do the same thing on the other side. Again, same. Going underneath of the cap band that you just placed and then looping the single chain just very simply to itself. Also, apparently there's a very large amount of large construction trucks outside today and it's being really loud, so I don't know if you can hear that on the tutorial or if it's just overriding my voice at all. But hopefully it doesn't cause too much of a distraction. But anyway, once you have finished looping this and you've reached the top, we're going to go ahead and come back to the beginning and loop these black bands here. So you're going to just go underneath of that peg and pull it back to itself. Just pull each band back to itself all the way down. So, very simple. And then up at the top, you're going to do the same thing, and do the same thing on the other side. The bands are going to be really twisted, but I guess I will untwist them after the tutorial. Okay, once you have looped all of those bands down to themselves, we're going to come back again and we're going to loop the center diamond thing here. So you're going to go underneath of the cap band, grab that top band, and loop that out to itself. Or if you have you've ended in an X, you're going to go underneath of this band and just pull that band into the center. But because I ended in a diamond, I'm going to pull mine out. And then you're going to go ahead and grab this next band and pull it in. And this is if these bands that I just pulled in were on your beginning peg, you would just pull them into the center like normal from underneath of that cap band. And then you're going to go ahead and continue that, so pull those out to themselves and then in. Again, out to themselves and then in. Okay, once you have looped all of those out, you're going to go ahead and come back to the beginning of the loom. But as you do so, you might want to push down those black bands if you haven't already. And what we're going to do now is we're going to be looping the teal and the white border bands kind of at the same time. But first, we're going to go ahead and go underneath the cap band on the center and pull out this white band to itself, this white band to itself, and pull that down and down. Then you're going to pull this white band out, so pretty much just looping it over to the outside. And then you are going to pull this single chain band here forward, so make sure that you do that. And now what we're going to be doing is going underneath of this kind of white band here. You're going to grab the teal, pull it to itself, grab the white band, pull it straight forward, grab the teal in this peg, pull it to itself, grab the white band, loop that forward, teal to itself, white band, forward. So you're just going to alternate pegs and pull out both bands that are inside of that peg. So make sure that you do that. You don't want to mess up your border here. So you'll pull your teal band over, your white band up, and then you'll alternate so that the teal, gets on top of the white band here. It kind of creates a zippy chain type stitch, if you know what that is. It's one of the simplest rainbow loom bracelets, but it creates this look here once you do it all the way down. So you're going to go ahead and continue that until you reach the end. Just alternate. On the inside pegs you are going to have a couple more bands to push back, but just again make sure that you don't grab any extra bands you don't need to. Just like in the center, you didn't want to grab any of those diamond bands. And once you get to the top, you're going to loop this last teal band out to itself and the white band up. Then once you do that, you're going to grab this white, pull it up into the center, then down into the center, and then across the center. And you're going to stop right here in the middle, the very middle, and come back and do the same thing on the other side. So, same thing with the teal and the white bands, just alternating. Make sure you pull both bands out, and then alternate pegs. A very time-consuming process here. I'm almost at the top though. Okay, so I'm finally at the top after finishing that side. You're going to pull, again, just trace this band into the center. If I can get underneath of the band that I need to. Okay. So once you have both bands in the very center, like what I like to do before I take this bracelet off is take this top peg off, and I'm going to come back to the beginning and pull off all 7 of these starter pegs here so they don't get snagged. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull off the sides here because it's very, very difficult to pull off a 7-bar pin bracelet from the top. But because I'm doing this in a tutorial, that's what I have to do pretty much, because it would take too long to pick off all of the bands on the sides. So I'm just going to do those 2 rows, and I'm going to take my white extension band, stick it down through here, and now I only have to work with 5 pins, which can still be difficult because the bracelet is very tight. It's just not as difficult as a 7-bar pin bracelet would be. So Make sure that you don't snag any of those diamond bands, because they might break if you stretch them too far. Once you pull it off, this is what it should look like, somewhat. If you've used different colors, it's obviously going to look fairly different. But this is what it looks like here. I will untwist all of the bands and add an extension later, but for this tutorial that is going to do it, so thank you for watching. Make sure to give a thumbs up and subscribe. I will have an Instagram name in the description box below if you want to check that out, and see what I'm going to be posting here on YouTube before I post it here, I guess. I always post original designs there, and actually a lot of other people's designs that I later post on YouTube. So anyway, if you would like to check that out, make sure to check that out. But for now, that's all I'm going to have for this video, so I hope to see you next time.